So I'm at VMworld 2013, and besides me is Kit. We saw you on stage yesterday. You had a very great performance.
Thank you.
And have some questions around software-defined data center. So let's see what's going on. So what is VMware's approach and VMware's vision around software-defined data center?
Yeah, so the software-defined data center is, exactly that, trying to abstract all the different physical resources in software. So what that leads to is a lot of automation and easier management. But most importantly, and this is what we talked about yesterday, was self-service. The ability for application owners to go in and provision things on their own without having to file tickets with IT. And that's really what the vision is. How can we move to a self-service architecture? Once we do that, what you realize is that it changes there's a trickle-down effect that it changes everything in your data center. How you do networking, how you do storage, how you do operations management. And that's a little bit of what we covered yesterday.
So NSX and software-defined storage are two critical components, as you mentioned. What is NSX for the people who didn't see the keynote and are watching this recording?
Yeah, so NSX is network virtualization, which a lot of people think to themselves, what is network virtualization? What does that mean, right? The way I describe it to people is to think about what we did with applications inside of virtual machines and how that relates to a physical machine. So when you go and create a virtual machine, you don't need to change the physical machine at all. You can just create a virtual machine right on top of your ESX host, right? And so the exact same thing is going to apply for networks, where you can now create a network without touching your networking hardware. It all just works on top of it. And the NSX network hypervisor takes care of that virtualization for you. Wow. So it's a really powerful thing, right? Because now you can get all the cool things you can do with virtual machines with networks. You can provision them rapidly, snapshot them, clone them, etc., etc.
So that's a mind shift for networking admins and networking designers as well, I assume.
Definitely, because it really simplifies your hardware fabric of network. And then all the really cool, more complicated things you can do in software, but it makes it really easy because it can all be automated.
Okay.
Right? Yep.
So the other component is software-defined storage. Mm-hmm. And there are a couple of components inside that umbrella. What are the components and what does the different components in software-defined storage mean?
Yeah, so software-defined storage umbrella, if you will, it's a little bit broader than with networking, where our main focus is NSX, right? So with software-defined storage, what we have there are virtual SAN, first of all, then with a technology we call VVols, and then virtual flash, and finally technology we acquired, I believe, earlier this year called Versto. So those are the four pillars. Yesterday, we focused mostly on virtual SAN and all the really cool things that can do. So virtual SAN, what it does is it takes all the different direct attached storage of all the hosts in a cluster and pools them together into one giant logical data store. So it's sort of like, conceptually kind of like a compute cluster, but now for storage. And the great thing about this is that it uses both solid-state disks and spinning disks, and it kind of intelligently can get better performance using the SSDs, but can put data that's not being used very often on the spinning disks to reduce costs. So
for both read and writes?
Yes, both reads and writes. Yeah, and so it's a really hard problem to solve because it's basically a distributed file system caching. It's got to do read and write caching in a distributed fashion. It's got to do it securely. It's got to know how to do striping and mirroring, replicating data.
And VMware built them from the ground up by themselves?
Yeah, it's been built in-house from the ground up. It's been working on it for I think a couple of years now. It's just extraordinarily difficult technology to get right, and we absolutely have to get it right since we don't want to corrupt anybody's data. So it's really cool stuff. And what you see is that what we're looking at now is when you add additional hosts to your cluster, you now get additional storage capacity, which is a really cool thing. And if you're running NSX, you also get additional network capacity because NSX can optimize network traffic between VMs on the same host. Okay. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff. So I'm looking forward to really implement that at customers.
Yeah.
So interesting times ahead.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thanks for your time.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.